Hey, Wes here. Thanks for joining me today. Today I'm making a seed jar. This is version 2, which includes a narration. Version 1 is exactly the same, it just doesn't have any talking. And so here I've got some wild clay that I dug, and I've kind of rolled it out into a thin piece and put it in the pookie, and I'm pushing it down into the pookie to form the bottom. And then what I have to do next is to start forming the edge. And with a seed jar, the top of it is almost horizontal. And so it has to take a fairly significant bend. And so you need a pretty firm clay to make this happen. Otherwise, it has a tendency to sag in. And from time to time, I will let the clay rest for a while to kind of firm up a little bit. So I use first a scraper on the outside and then one on the inside, keeping in mind that in the end you have a very small hole at the top, and so you need to smooth things out on the inside as you go along. So now I'm ready to put on the first coil. It works best for me to cut that off and even it out. You can see here that I had a little spot that needed filling in. So then I'm making the first coil, and I find that it works best for me if I pat the coil out flat. It just sort of fits into the pottery best, I think. And then just work around evenly, smooshing the coil down into the main pot. And then once you do that, I start slowly crimping it up to thin out that coil. So it's a process of using scrapers and then making small incremental pinches to get that coil to be fairly thin, at the same time moving it in the direction that you want. So here is another coil, and I find that sometimes it's easiest to kind of shape that coil ahead of time to get it to be the right size. Don't really have to do that. You can see it's already flattened out, and it's pretty close to fitting the inside of the hole. And also you can see that it is fitting inside of the hole, not on top of it, because what I want is that coil to be moving in a horizontal direction. And you can see that my hand is just kind of barely fitting inside of the hole, but I'm pinching it and smoothing it out and getting it as thin as I reasonably can. Again, I've waited a little bit between coils to let things firm up. So now you can see there's not very much left, but the top needs to be pushed down, and so very slowly in incremental pieces, pushing the top down to get it reasonably flat. It never gets completely flat, but it gets pretty close. At this point, I can't get my finger on the inside anymore, and it's time to put on a rim. I find it easiest to get a nice good circle, cut that out, and then make one last coil to make the rim. Don't really have to do this, but I like to put a little water there. This is a critical juncture or joint. I want to make sure it fits. Normally you don't even have to do this, but just for safety's sake. So I've got my little coil the right size, and then I pinch it on the outside, and then you'll see that I kind of do my best to pinch it onto the inside. So I use some different tools to help me get that done. And then what I will actually do then is use a little stone with some water to try and make that rim shape the way I want it. For me, the rim is the toughest part. So I form it as best I can, and then here I use a little piece of deer skin, or maybe it's rabbit skin, to help smooth that out. And so here it's basically done in terms of its basic structure, but this is the next day, and I'm smoothing it out with a scraper. I use different kinds of scrapers. I like to use an antelope rib, fill in any gaps, take off any high areas, get it reasonably smooth. So you can see here I'm filling it in with a little spot with some extra clay. Again, this is the next day. Things are kind of dried out. Then I take a stone to stone smooth it. This isn't polishing. This is just getting everything reasonably smooth. Again, I'm looking for high areas or low areas. It's never perfect for me. and I use a little bit of water to help kind of make that all work. Here I'm putting on a slip because I want to color the pot different color than the base clay. I usually use 2 coats of slip, then take a real smooth stone, and this is more of a polish, and polish out that slip. And once that is done, the pot is done and ready to be painted. I'll show you a picture of how it is painted here in just a second. I do want to thank you. I wish you health, happiness, peace, and love. And so here is a picture of it painted, and in a future video, I will show you what it looks like after it is fired. Thanks so much. Take care. Have a great day.